Alright. We are back for round two. Now I just have a huge headache. A headache I can work with. Feeling like shit, I cannot. The only thing I can think about it what happened is I'm allergic to milk. And I ate a salad with ranch and two different types of cheeses and a fuck ton of it. Because when I started drinking water, it kind of, I guess, flushed what it needed to flush out, and I started feeling better. And then all of the pain went away, and now I just have a headache. As well, allergies. What else is new? Alright, let's try this again. Killer concept. The entomologist studies insects. I had some fun because I was bored, open to criticism. The entomologist, difficulty is hard. A faceless killer, inducing pain with swarms of insects and nectar to guide it with their power, hive mind. The personal perks, scent of nature, double-minded, sticky formula allow them to easily track survivors with manipulation of spell by doing actions. 46 meters per second, 4.6. Movement speed, 32 meters. Tear radius, tall. Power is hive mind. The scent of nectar is too enticing to leave behind. The power isn't hive mind. The power is nectar manipulation. Here we go again with this shit. Somebody saying what the power is, not putting anything under the power, and then saying something else and using the power button. I mean, like, let's nip this in the bud right now. And let's go to, honestly, Trapper. This goes through, says all of this other stuff, blah, 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 because I don't feel like opening up Dead by Daylight. Overview. Trapper is this. This is what Trapper does. Personal perks. All of this allow him to chase and carry survivors more efficiently. He is focused on physical attributes and making use of his strength and survivor's fear. Difficulty. Easy. See how this overview comes together and makes it look all nice and beautiful and all of that? This is something that we're looking for overview-wise, because I might as well go over the entire thing. This is a fandom website, by the way. That means somebody put this shit together. They made it all look nice and all of that, went down, etc., etc., but that's not really an important thing. The important thing is what's written out on paper. You see how this is? How beautiful this looks? How they say what the trapper is versus the perks versus what he's focused on versus his difficulty rating, which isn't really too relevant, but you see how this is listed as an overview? This is beautiful. Lore, all of this, not too worried about any of this. Unique perks. The perks are listed exactly how it is with the game. And the beginning, it says whatever line it is, all of these. And then there's a space. After all of these little first lines and all of that, they're just kind of like an introduction. Then there's a space, and then whatever the perk does is listed next. That, space, and even indentions are added in some cases when you're actually listing what the perk does. You see how this is listed? You see how good this looks? How great this looks, actually? Now, on the other creation form, the colors in all of this and the pictures that are listed after that don't really matter in this particular aspect. But keep in mind the differences in fonts, the differences in the bullet numbers and things like that, and how all of this is listed. That is what's important. Its present befalls us. Not only does it have the quotation marks and all of that, it's also italicized to show that it's somebody talking. You don't have to put all of the gold and all of that on it. Just leaving it white and leaving it like that shows you that it's somebody's talking. The beginning, your presence alone instills great fear. You know, the little introduction to the perk that's all that. It's up at the top. It's the first thing you see. It goes there, and then afterwards it's spaced to another thing. It is separate. It's not just that and then goes straight into what the power does. They're separate. How many times have I been saying to separate these? Here, starts out. Survivors, repairing or healing within your tear radius, suffer from the following effects. Afterwards, bam. This is what the activation is. And the activation versus the actual what the perk does on that activation is separated. The trigger, survivors repairing or healing within your tear radius. That is the trigger for this perk. Once you get that trigger, this is what happens. Increases the trigger odds of skill checks by 10% and decreases the success zone of skill checks by 40, 50, 60%. Hello, Galanonim. What's going on? That is what we would like to see when somebody's making a particular perk. And then at the end, I've already went over that. Like, these are beautiful. You don't need to have the gold and the different colors and all of that. But separating it 40, 50, 60 together, and then the percent with the dot at the end is beautiful. This brings emphasis on the 40, 50, and 60%. How this goes, how these are emboldened, and it increases and decreases to make a specific point that something's going to increase, something's going to decrease, knowing that, you know, these effects do that. Perfectly, beautifully written, which I mean, you would expect this much from Dead by Daylight because they are the game devs of the particular game. But when making a creation, we would like to get to the level to where people are making things like this. Now, the power, which, keep in mind, this is what people have been doing recently. Power, hive mind. The sin of nectar is too enticing to leave behind, and then they immediately go. Nectar manipulation. Power, bear trap. There's something about the bear trap that explains what the bear trap is. It's a foothold trap made of steel. They're laid throughout the trial games, ready to be picked up and set anywhere. This is the bear trap. This is the description of the bear trap. You can do this by just putting it in quotation marks. Then guess what? With the power called bear trap, they then go into explaining what the bear traps are. It shows you how much they start with. Equipped, 6 bear traps spawn throughout the trial grounds. The trapper sees the aura of all of that. The basics of the bear trap. Then they tell you about collecting bear traps and all of that. You can either put these, well, starting the trial and all of that's useful information and all of that. but you can put these in basically any order when you're putting these down, as long as it's, sequential and makes sense in the particular order. This tells you what they start with, how many spawn throughout, and you can see the order of them. This is when the trial starts. When you go and start the trial, the next thing you're going to do is probably collect bear traps. Once you collect bear traps and do whatever you need to do, which you can carry 2 at a time, you then go about setting the bear traps. This tells you exactly how to set the bear traps and all of that, and it gives you a whole bunch of information there. Afterwards, the survivor steps in the bear trap. Bam! Catching survivors in bear traps. It says whatever that is. Bam! At the end, resetting the bear trap. It goes throughout that. Even with resetting bear traps, you can even add in the information that if you accidentally step in a bear trap, it'll activate already. But I mean, it says it here as well. But you don't necessarily have to keep it here. You can put this down here and resetting bear traps as well, and it fits in either or. That'll make this be a little bit shorter, and you can buff this up with a little bit more writing. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. And they can go in escaping bear traps, and you can go throughout and say whatever you need to do wherever you want to say it, essentially. Then you have afterwards, like I always said, when it comes to the extra information, you can leave that separate from the power. So your basic power has a typical explanation of all the things that you need to know. And then the extra information that you don't want to flood your just basic description with, you can put afterwards and have all of these duration, rescue times, and all of that listed afterwards. That if somebody wants to go in and try to implement this into the game, or a dev, or some other guy on a side project, or a reviewer like myself comes through, can go through and look at all the extra information and balance it and do whatever we need to do. So the general population gets, the basic information that they want to look at, and then anybody that wants to go farther can get the secondary information. That's important for the implementation. Then it goes through add-ons, things like that, and it goes beyond that all the way to the end. Again, if you look up these sources before you make particular creations, you have templates out there that you can use to make a very good creation. You can put emphasis where you need to put emphasis. So even if somebody's skimming through, they can say, okay, Trapper's the name, 2 bear traps, 6 bear traps throughout the trial, ores of every bear trap at all times. Standing near, bear trap to collect it. The trapper can carry 2 bear traps at a time. Things like that. And you can even skim through and even look at, some of the things you would generally want to know. Or if somebody has a question, they can look through and they can say, if a survivor was healthy, they'll be put into an injured state whenever they step into it. Things like that. So it works for a lot of different eyes and a lot of different things. Now, I'm not saying you got to go through and bulleted point everything and do all of this other stuff, but it's like, depending on how much work you want to put into your creation and if you want your creation to be taken seriously and possibly implemented versus the bullshit that I kind of look at every day. Again, this is the part that I wanted to really look at is the power is bear trap. It explains what the bear traps are and kind of the base use of them. You pick them up and you set them down and what they are. It's a trap that's found laying throughout the trial grounds that are picked up and set anywhere. Then the power, continue on with this, tells you exactly what the bear trap is and does, and then goes on and tells you more and more about bear traps. Whereas here, we get back to this is we get the power being hive mind. And then afterward, it just says the scent of nectar is too enticing to leave behind. What the hell does that have to do with being a hive mind? What's that have to do with the power or anything like that? Then you immediately go with nectar manipulation and use the power button associated with nectar manipulation. If that's the case, get rid of hive mind, bring nectar manipulation up here, and then leave this as the introduction to that. Maybe add a little bit more so we understand what the hell you're talking about, and then go on from there. You see something as simple as the trapper, who has a basic mechanic of picking up trap and sitting it down, had so many steps defined and so many statistics added into it for something basic. Then you come to here as something that's a lot more complicated, and that's all you get. That, a little bit of that. You get a small definitions of power states, a very small thing of perks and things like that, and then that's the end of it. This is why I'm disappointed in most creations being made. If you don't understand the time and effort it takes to go into making a creation, and you come in and you post a joke, it's just kind of like, why? Why do I gotta waste my time going over such a bad creation? And most of these I skip or I don't really go over largely because there's no effort being put into it. You can tell. They literally just thought of something or seen a movie or something popped into their mind. And then they came to the forum and they wrote that shit down. And then they're out. They're not going to stay and take the time and effort to make this into an actual fully flushed creation. I wish they would come back and add more and more information and all of that and expand upon it. But we all know that's not going to happen. They're going to leave this as it is unless somebody comes in and comments on it and really inspires them to continue to push forward. And that's going to be the end. There's nothing wrong with having some fun and being bored and all of that. But it's like, you say you're open to criticism and all kinds of other things, but it's like, bro, you didn't even put enough down to even get criticized about. You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody came in and apparently said a whole bunch of other stuff. And there's all of this and all of this other stuff, etc., etc. At the end, let's see if they even took the time to go back in and revise whatever this conversation they're having and add this back into their original thing. Let's see if they even took the time to do that. Maybe there'll be a shred of hope if they revised and edited it. It doesn't say that it was edited anywhere, so probably not, but let's just see. Said it's been 6 days since then. Let's see if they added anything else. I'm going to go over this fairly quickly because, well, obviously there's nothing really there to go over. So you start the trial with 5 nectar, hold the power button to use an aim nectar placement. What do you mean use an aim nectar placement? I assuming that you just sit it on the ground. It's very odd to use the power button and then use the words aim. Use an aim nectar placement. I mean, obviously it means to sit down, but you know, it's weird. It's just weird. And makes you think that it's going to be something thrown, and then it throws in, allows you to place nectar at your wisp position. Pressing the power button will instead place nectar on the nearest vault or pallet. So holding the button, you can place it wherever you want. Tapping it makes you place nectar on the nearest vault position or pallet. What is the range of that? And, you know, how is this nectar literally like is it shot out? is using aim correct because it comes out like a squirt gun or comes out of their hands, or you pick it up and throw it, or what happens? Or is it nectar in a jar? Like, how is this implemented? What's its range? Because, if you're just taking it like out of your pocket or something and you're sitting it down on a window, that's one thing. Or are you just automatically turning and then throwing it at a window? No idea. Using nectar placement will slightly slow you down and eliminate any older nectar place. Slightly slow you down? No idea what that means. If you have no nectar stored, the current nectar on the map will disappear after 12 seconds. What is stored? How do you store it? Where do you get it? Where do you pick it up from? No idea. You can reload nectar at locker. So you reload nectar from a locker. Not any type of bee's nest or anything specific to this particular killer. You just pick the shit up out of a locker. So I guess you open it and pick up a jar, or open it and scrape some nectar out of a locker. Don't make sense. You can have 5 nectar, and if you have no nectar stored, the current nectar on the map will disappear after 12 seconds. I don't know. I'm assuming that's just one sentence or not. I'm trying to bring myself to terms with this. Does it mean that you have to always have 1 nectar on you? So you can technically only place 4 of the 5 down and then keep 1 on you, or the rest will despawn? Or are you saying that they just despawn after 12 seconds? Because if that's the case, then what's the point of having it where you place down another nectar and then the old nectar disappears? What's the point in having that in there as a failsafe if the nectar goes away on its own? You might as well just let it continuously being placed until the time runs out. So you can just put the shit down after a small cooldown and limit it that way to where you don't have to keep going back in and doing things. Like, it's going to be a pain when it comes to add-ons if you want to try and add more nectar in or do anything like that or change the state. It's going to be a pain depending on how you try to implement it. The swarm, at the start of the trial, the swarm will be dispersed. What does that mean? While the swarm is dispersed, any nectar placement will summon the swarm after a delay to the position of the nectar. So the swarm basically is just despawn. It doesn't exist on the map, if that's what I'm getting. And then when you place a nectar placement, the swarm eventually finds the nectar after a delay, however much that is. If the swarm is summoned and it isn't on nectar at the current moment, it will fly towards the location of the nectar, ignoring obstacles. So they can go through obstacles and all of that. I don't know how you would summon the swarm without nectar already being down, because the swarm is apparently already dispersed and they populate around the nectar. So I'm assuming the swarm just comes out of your body, out of your hand, or something like that, and then goes towards the nectar in a straight line. This isn't very well explained. If nectar is on a vault pallet, it will instead just block it, preventing use for survivors. So you put nectar on pallets or vault locations, the survivor can no longer block that. Um, Obviously, bamboozle is a thing. So the only thing you're really gaining out of this is putting nectar on pallets to block pallets. But I mean, blood favor is a thing too, and if you basic attack a survivor, all pallets in 16 meters become unable to be pulled down as well. So you've essentially taken 2 perks, slammed them together, and made it part of the power that's there. But we found out what happens when nectar goes with volts or pellets. It's essentially the two perks. Survivors standing in the swarm are incapacitated and slowly become rotten. Rotten survivors are slowed, and the more rotten they become, the more they are slowed. That doesn't explain anything to me except for you slow down gradually. What's the percentages to that? What is rotten? You need to explain what rotten is. Well, all of this needs to be explained. If a survivor is fully rotten, whenever the amount of time that is with the swarm on you, you lose a health state and lose the rotten effect when the swarm disperses. The rotten effect slowly disappears if a survivor doesn't interact with the swarm for a certain time. Yes, but how do you get rid of the swarm? How long does it take? Things like that. You're telling me that the swarm could swarm you, but you never say how exactly to get rid of the swarm. Is it like the crows on the artist? Do you have to go to some special thing? You know? And once you get the swarm off of you, what do you do? And how does a survivor stand in the swarm? Do they have to walk over where a nectar is, or is it when the swarm is going towards the nectar? If it hits a survivor, is that a thing? How fast does this swarm move? You know, you're missing a lot of questions and all of that. We're going to move down to the specified power states and hopefully we'll get some answers. Cooldown between nectar placements, 5 seconds. Spawn range for nectar, 32 meters. Works like a pinhead gateway summon, but the range increases a lot faster. Pinhead's gateway summon, you can literally put the thing down and shoot it at the same time. It's always the same range. Plus, you're talking about the actual chain, and that the swarm moves faster than that, than Pinhead's chain. Swarm area range, 4 meters. Swarm travels speed, 4 meters per second. Pinhead's chain goes faster than 4 meters per second, by the way. Your swarm travel speed's literally the same speed of a survivor moving, so if the swarm is behind a survivor, they're gonna move at the same speed. That doesn't work. That's why Pinhead's chain's faster than 4 meters per second, because if you shot it at a survivor, the survivor could outrun the chain. So, I'm not understanding that. And you say the range increases a lot faster, but its speed is slower. So, in essence, the range doesn't increase faster. So it's like Pinhead's chain, except for it has a 4 meter range, but it's the same speed as survivors. I don't think whoever did this knew all of the basic information that they needed to know to actually keep this as a thing or to implement this correctly. Rotten effects slow, 5 to 20% depending on how rotten they are. Do I even need to say how ridiculous that is? 5% for a survivor is 0.2 meters per second. So every stage of rotten that they are, they lose 0.2 meters per second. Again, it doesn't say how to get rid of this particular swarm. Uh, Pinhead chain was slower in beta server. No, Pinhead's chain was, well, I mean, it might have been slower in the PTB and all of that, but it was still fairly fast. When I used it, I was still able to, chase survivors and hit them, like catch up to survivors, essentially. It was kinda slow, but it was definitely faster than 4 meters per second. At least I want to say it was faster than 4 meters per second. I don't know. I would have to go back and look at my Pinhead video. back when the PTB and all of that was up. But I'm fairly certain it was faster. Because if it wasn't at least faster than the survivor's speed, it would never be able to catch them. They would be able to outrun the chain if they ran in a straight line. But whether or not it was slower in beta, probably. Because Pinhead for the longest time wasn't used after the beta, so they probably did make it faster. Rotten gain speed is 25% per second, so every 4 seconds you would lose 0.2 meters per second of speed. So, to get rid of the swarm, you're going to have some sort of action that happens very quickly. Or not, the killer's just going to catch up to you and clap your cheeks. The depletion rate is 10% per second after not getting any rot for 10 seconds. So once you are rotted, you are stuck, whatever rotted level you're at, for 10 seconds before you start having this decrease. This is terrible. The depletion rate should definitely be a lot more, or have a lot more speed in it, if your game speed's going to be crazy. You can't have a 25% game speed, one for every 4 seconds essentially, and then have a minus 10% per second after not getting rot for 10 seconds. Kind of crazy. Anyway, the swarm's aura is revealed to you. Essentially, this entire killer needs more information. I can't give it an accurate review because there's nothing there to review. Everything that's mentioned there, I can't really say, hey, this is a good idea or this is a bad idea, because I have no idea. Absolutely, positively no idea. From what I'm seeing, it seems like it's going to end up being a bad concept. However, I don't know. You can't condemn something if you don't know any information about it. Even the army, at least the American army, goes by the same rules. We call it an uncharacteristic discharge. It means the army doesn't know you well enough to classify you as dishonorable or honorable discharge. Anyway, scent of nature. Survivors that escape a chase from you are incapacitated and have their auras revealed to you for 10 seconds. This perk has a cooldown of 90 seconds. I'm telling you, boy, most of the community that makes perks are just so far off base that it's ridiculous. Just play the doctor. Is the only thing I'm going to tell you. Just play the doctor. The doctor, you can zap them and you can incapacitate the hell out of them for as much as you want. And if they escape you, you can use the static blast and you can go right back to where they are again and continue to chase them. Just play doctor. Instead of doing all of this with the honey and all of this other stuff. Just be a doctor, man. That's my advice to you. Play doctor. Double-minded. Injuring the obsession with a basic or special attack reveals the aura of all survivors within 10 meters of the obsession for 60 seconds. Who would have thought more aura reading? The obsession is aware that double-minded is active on them. This perk has a cooldown of 150 minutes, not minutes, seconds. Jesus, seconds. So now you have a perk that you can use every minute and a half, and you have a perk that you can only use like once every 2 minutes. Do you realize that your particular killer, if you run both of these perks, is already Oh no, my bird destroyed pole from my ship model. No. Did he like land on it and snap it? I could actually see something like that happen. Oh, he attacked it. I see. Well, that's a different story. So, for the few months at least. So it was a matter of time. Fair enough. Tell the bird he's gonna be a courier pigeon if he keeps that up. That'll put some sense into him. No, I'm joking. Would be funny though if birds had, basic communication skills. You keep attacking my ship, you're gonna be delivering messages. Oh man. So aura reading, all of this again, it's not good. And showing the auras of people around the obsession, good luck. Probably likes the materials from it. He wants it for his nest. That actually makes a lot of sense. That really does. Bird wants to get a little bougie and have better materials for his nest. He wants that as a luxury. I can't blame him. I would bring some luxury stuff into mine too if I could. Double Minded has way too much aura reading and relies on the obsession being near people. If you do basic attack or special attack the specific obsession at this point, there's no choice or there's no point in you following them anymore. And the fact that you have to hit the obsession for this, it doesn't stack with any of the other obsession perks. So once you hit this obsession and all of that and you start chase, you either have to abandon the obsession and go after the person that you have the aura reading and all of that on, or you have to quickly try and down the obsession and hook the obsession and then go after another particular person. Cooldown of 150 seconds don't make any type of sense to me, but it is what it is. If anything, at this point, you might as well just make it a one per trial use thing and call it a day. Okay, if we're gonna go OP, why not make it super OP and make it just mark all the survivors on the trial or in the trial until one of them gets injured or down and then call it a day? Why not we go super OP with it? One activation. You can use the knowledge you have to see where all the survivors are, or you can hit a survivor or down a survivor and lose the activation for it. And just call it a super OP perk and call it a day. It wouldn't even really be super OP at that point, but still. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna go big and kind of go out in the left field, you might as well jump in a car and go on, a small trip. Sticky formula. Boy. Ah, Afro Man song came into mind. Using a vault reveals its aura in white and affects it. A survivor that interacts with an affected window gains a 4% hindered and aura reveal for 4 seconds. The hindered will not apply if in chase. Or you can just use Ghostface's I'm all ears, and if anybody volts near you, you'll see their aura. What's the point of hindering them and revealing them for 4 seconds on a window that you jumped through and passed? It don't make sense. The effective sticky formula disappear if it's used. Up to 5 volts may be affected by sticky formula. A visual effect is shown for all players on affected volts. So they can see which volts are affected. Well, if you're across map chasing somebody, of course they're going to volt that volt. And they're going to get that effect. And then they're going to move on with their life. Less effective clown perk. Very less effective clown perk. Yeah, bamboozle is a clown perk, isn't it? I'll be dang. Again, it don't make sense. I may not understand this power very well, so you correct me here. So you put nectar either on volts or your current position, or pallets. When out of nectar, you can still keep putting them and lose the previous one, just like Hag. You're able to place even more if you reload, just like Huntress. That's what I understand quite good, I think. But from one of the swarm description, I don't get it at all. Sorry. Me either, buddy. Also, the nectar duration, 12 seconds, feels like nothing, but you just need to explain the power to me. Yeah, it is. Gotcha. 12 seconds feels like nothing, obviously, when you can play literally Trapper and have your trap sat there the entirety of the match. 12 seconds really is nothing. Plus, it's 12 seconds plus time for the swarm to arrive. So, if you sit this down and you have to wait for the swarm to arrive, whatever time it takes for the swarm to arrive, if they arrive in time, the nectar might actually just be gone. He thinks Scent of Nature is a nice concept. He thinks double-minded's way too long, and he thinks sticky formula um is basically a mere effect, and it needs to be reworked. Long story short. I don't see anything particularly about a generator there, though, on sticky formula. Yeah, I don't see anything about a generator, though. It doesn't say this is edited, but maybe it is edited. Basically, the nectar is the position where the swarm will go. I probably should have mentioned that you can't put more nectar out when you have 0 left. Also, the nectar being 12 seconds is only for the final placement when you've ran out. So it is as ludicrous as I thought it was. As long as you have one on you, the nectar never disappears. But when you put your last nectar down, they all then disappear after the 12 seconds. It is like that. So you can really only use 4 out of the 5 nectars that you have. That's crazy. In that case, let them stay there indefinitely and just get rid of one nectar. That is so weird. The swarm is like a small area that affects survivors, and you have to manipulate it to different places to catch or pressure survivors. If a swarm is dispersed, it's completely gone. So yes, dispersed means basically unloaded. And I see. So the swarm is only one thing. They all stay together at all one time. And you can select which nectar that the swarm goes through or goes to. And you can put 5 down essentially in 5 different areas. And when the swarm is on it, it acts like a hag trap, but it only works in a meter or 4 meters. And as you activate it, the swarm travels from nectar to nectar at 4 meters per second. This is a terrible killer power. Indeed. I mean, if you place it near generators or something like that, I could see it being All right, but behavior's not ever going to allow you to do that. To have you put bottles right by generators and then just transfer the swarm from person to person, giving them the rotting status effect, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to place them all in some specific area and then make the swarm transfer throughout the game and hope that you catch somebody there. It's going to be hell on earth trying to pick somebody up. So instead of relying on RNG and happen to change and manipulate the swarm like that, I would recommend either adding or changing it to do something else. But you know, he went and explained everything that you sort of kind of needed to know right here in the comments. Why wasn't this in your original concept? It's like, why wasn't this part of your original concept when you were explaining everything? Like, you have an idea in your brain and it all makes sense, but you never explained what was going on inside of your head. So anybody reading this just question mark and was like, what's this guy thinking? Then when somebody said, I don't understand what this is, you immediately said what should already been part of the concept and explained it all the way. Now I understand it. That's not a good design if you have to say something in order for people to understand what's going on. You shouldn't have to be the key to people understanding your concept. Play chase music. I am not clicking on that because that is asking to get a copyright. Blood Omen chapter. Feedback appreciated. I feel like I've seen something like this before, but let's see. I mean, everybody knows. Well, I can't say everybody knows because this is boomer logic. The Legacy of Kain. Copyright strike concept, pretty much. Anybody's played the Legacy of Kain games know who Kain is. They know what Blood Omen and all of that is. And these are literally just Kain's powers. That's it. Long story short, that's it. All the powers that Kain have, he's literally writing them here. Mandy's gonna come clap them cheeks, Mr. Orange Goblin. It was nice seeing you. You gonna be gone. Sacred Grove of the Keeper. And it's a chapter. We shall see. We shall see. Dun dun dun. Nice chapter you have there, buddy. Oh, I can just about fit all of that on two screens. Uh, the Keeper, 115, which is just 4.6. Actually, yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, 115 is 4.6. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. Height is average. After so many bands, I think we can make Mandy chapter. Chapter comes up as a merciless killer. Pretty much. Pretty much. Oh my god. That would be so hilarious if somebody made a Mandy Talks killer. They'd get banned for sure, but it would be funny as hell. Oh my god. Primary power. Cultivate. The keeper shoots God. I read that all fucked up and I was like, I don't think I can do this. Because I was skimming through and I read the keeper shoots a seed from her, and I'll just highlight that. There, the keeper shoots a seed from her, and then that. That's what I read from that, and I was like, woo! Yes, merciless. Jesus, I'm getting worse at English. Eh, merciless, merciless, the same thing. I understood what you were saying. You'd be surprised how many people that can speak English don't know how to spell merciless right. So you're doing way better than the rest. If the keeper shoots a seed from her left hand's fingertip into the dirt. After about 4 seconds, the seed turns into a seedling and sprouts from the ground. Poison ivy much? Different seeds grow. When in seedling, survivors can pull that shit out. When it's a sprout, cannot be uprooted by survivors, so they can't tear it out. And then the mature stage, the plant gains even more benefits. Yes, it's one way to stay motivated. Being better than the... I can't say that. Being better than the... what's a nice way to put this? The native English speakers that don't really speak English. Plant types. Thorn. 12 seconds to uproot. The plants whip survivors. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's just look at the perks. Poison ivy killer. Not the keeper. It's a poison ivy killer. Just imagine it. Poison ivy from Batman. Put that into a killer concept and you'll get something better than that. I'm not gonna go over all the stuff that I just read. That's nah. It ain't even worth it at the end of that. A concept that could be made interesting, but no. No. And please don't put chapter on a concept if it's not a proper chapter. Scourge hook, domination, or dominion. Why did I say domination? My mind's in the gutter. Dominion. Whenever you hook a survivor on a scourge hook, you gain 10% haste for 12 seconds. There is already a perk that does that. It's not 10%, but, you know, not enough seed. Yeah, native English non-speakers and not enough seed. God dang. My mind's gone. It's in the gutter. Domination, seed play or seed play, word play on seeds. Jesus Christ. I'm moving on. So hooking a survivor on the scourge hook gives you 10 or 12 seconds of 10% haste. You don't need 12 seconds of haste. That's kind of ridiculous. Scale that down a little bit. There's also perks that already do this. And additionally, whenever you successfully hook a survivor on a scourge hook, another random hook will turn into a scourge hook. Now, if you're going to have a perk on which scourge hook turns into other, or hooks turn into other scourge hooks, you need to make your starting amount of scourge hooks less. And as survivors get hooked, you want to expand that. So your haste status needs, or your haste percentage needs to go down. You need to have one specific number on seconds that it lasts and scale that back. And then your scaling needs to be scourge hooks that you start with. And basically, Anytime you hook a survivor on a scorch hook, another hook turns into a scorch hook. This should just be a passive, getting speed boost after hooking a survivor on a scorch hook. It should just be a passive, so it shouldn't be a huge boost in speed. It should just be something that's there. It's not necessarily helpful. It's just something that gives you a non-useless perk. This is why you should scale that back. Then you need to keep in mind that Scorch Hook Dominion is literally going to have to be stacked with other Scorch Hook perks. And as long as you're fine with that and making it not its own unique perk that it can stand on its own legs, it would be, for the most part, fine. Hex Hallowed Grounds. It's not Haunted Grounds, it's Hallowed now. uh, why are we using the perk in like the third sense here? Hex Hallowed Grounds occupies one dull totem and is blocked by the entity for 100 seconds. All other Hex totems are blocked as long as Hex Haunted Hallowed Grounds stands. After the duration, Hex Hallowed Grounds, why are we using the word in the sentence so many times, is blocked. Once cleansed, all other Hex totems are also unblocked. Hex totems blocked by the entity still retain their effects. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this implemented in so many different perks. I'm going to make a Hex perk that blocks every other totem on the map so survivors just can't interact with them. Stop that. The whole point of a Hex perk is that it's strong, but it's able to be deactivated at a moment's notice. Putting up barriers around it and things like that isn't the way to do that. If you want to make it to where you can put the particular Hex down on whatever totem you can find, at the beginning of the match, all totems of the maps are shown to you, and then you can pick. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to go over and essentially bless, or in this case, curse a particular totem to put that up. And if anybody sees you, they know where it's at. But you can do something like that. Make it like a opposite of a boon totem, but not as quick as an unkindled totem or rekindled totem. So it's going to take you a good amount of time to actually light it and get your Hex up and all of that. During that, survivors are going to have gen time. So, I mean, if you're alright setting up a particular Hex and losing that time on 4 separate generators at the same time, then by all means, design a perk like that and balance it to make it where it's worthwhile. But blocking all the Hex totems on the map to try and save yourself from getting a terrible spawn from a survivor or something like that, that's not it, Chief. It wouldn't be bad if you found some way to balance it and made it to where they were blocked. However, there was a sound or something like that, or a survivor can interact with it to unblock it, cleanse or unblock the entity, or like put a tree or something in front of it that a survivor has to break the bark off of or something, or put a symbol in front of it that gives rapid skill checks or something to unblock the totem, and then make the totem slower to cleanse to give you a chance. Any type of thing like that can be arguably implemented into the game, but saying, no, you're not going to touch my totem, there's nothing you can do about it. And then having the perk protect itself on top of that after a duration, it's kind of ridiculous. Mate, I have troubles to find our hope. You want me to now find another totem before it? Exactly. But you gotta find that particular totem, which it might be blocked off too. So, I mean, even if you find a Hex totem, if it's during the duration that perk's blocked off, you won't even know that that's the actual perk. But finding it, and then finding out which one's the right one, cleansing it, then going back and cleansing all the other totems, it's kind of ridiculous. It's going to be very easy, you say, to get Devour Hope up. Because as survivors are running around essentially doing totems instead of generators, you're going to be knocking them down and getting Devour Hope tokens and all of that. And that's going to be the end of the game. It's a shame that people keep finding your hex totems and all of that, but keep in mind that that's just part of the game. And also, you shouldn't be relying too heavily on hex totems, hex totems all the time. If you run a full build with all hex totems, you're not doing it right. It's fun to meme every once in a while and do something like that, like Haunted Grounds, Hex Undying, Devour Hope, things like that, and making a meme build every once in a while. But your Noad is usually the fourth one. But, you know, at one point, you gotta stop being a scumbag and stop suckling your mother's tits and actually go out and be, a person. That's why I picked Pop Goes the Weasel instead of Ruin and never kicked the. Ah, shit. At least they haven't cleansed my ex. Oh, boy. But yes, that's why most people run Ruin and Pop Goes the Weasel together as a secondary thing to keep the gems down and other things like that. There's plenty of perks that you can run and plenty of hexes and things like that in combination to help you out. I mean, Hex Undying's gonna be a bitch with that perk. If that perk prevents all other perks from being done, this perk and Hex Undying literally prevent each other from being broken. Hex Undying's protected. That perk's gonna go there. As soon as you break that perk the first time, Hex Undying's going to redo that perk on another totem. So then you're gonna have to deal with that same effect again because the thing came back for the second time. That's a pain in the ass. Yeah, you usually see Hex Undying and Devour Hope a lot together. Well, I can't say that. In the past, let me be specific. In the past, you used to see that again. Then they changed it to where it resets your totem or tokens and all of that, and people stopped using it once they figured that out. Yeah, I just want to make you see. I'm just there and I hate Devour Hope. Yep. Back in the past, Devour Hope used to be real bad. Devour Hope, Hex Undone. They used to take out their Devour Hope and then you used to continuously pressure them anyway. Now it drops all the tokens on it and it becomes useless to run Hex Undying and Devour Hope. Now you can't do that anymore, which was great. But again, like you said, you're running around like a chicken with its head cut off just to be downed again anyway. I never get that far because I get farmed. But yeah, your Devourer of Hope is like me and the plague. I can't stand her. Wait, you can't do that anymore? Yay. Yup. Devourer of Hope tokens are reset when they are triggered by Hex Undying. So it's not worth running Hex Undying and Devour Hope anymore. Unless you want like the speed boost after hooking somebody or something. Possibly could get the one hit downs again, but at that point, everybody's basically on their last hook, so it's like, why? We have Hex Contagion. Occupies one dull totem. For the duration of its life, every time you hit a survivor, the survivor nearest to them will have their aura revealed for 16 seconds. What is nearest to them? Terrible perk. Literally Legion. Legion. That's all it is. You hit a survivor, and then the nearest one has their aura revealed. You go and hit them, it does the same thing over and over and over. Finally, not exposed anymore, lads. You sound like you don't have pants on. So, Hex Legion is what Contagion is. The Paranoid Killer, the Worker. I've definitely seen this before. Yes, yes, I have. I'm still not going over it. New chapter. The Whispers by Eiley Chips. That's a name I ain't seen in a while. He used to stop by and look at all of my creation reviews and all of that. Never used to comment. Well, he used to comment every once in a while, letting me know that he's there. But he used to be a silent viewer. So you know what? I'm going to save this. And I'll probably name one of the next live streams that I do. So he knows that, hey, I went over this particular concept. But Eiley Chips has been around for a long time watching my Dead by Daylight reviews, and I didn't really, he's just kind of a lurker. He don't say anything, but I appreciate him. Fan-made Pyramid Head add-on pass. What does that even mean? Holy shit. That's what that means. I made an add-on pass for Pyramid Head to make his add-ons more fun and versatile. Let me know what you think. Well, I ain't clicking on that, but reduces the entering time of Rites of Judgment by -1 seconds. Exit time -1 second, or -0.1 seconds. Okay. You no longer leave trails of torment behind while channeling Rites of Judgment, but hitting a survivor twice with Punishment of the Damned applies torment to them. So you hit somebody with that range attack twice, and then you can mori them when they're on their second hook. I don't know about that. Increasing punishment of the damn attack. If this is an actual add-on for the game and not just something that they did, I'm going to be extremely upset running into something that does that. I mean, like, if you step on the trail of torment, you already get the killer instinct to Pyramid Head. So the auras don't matter because he has killer instinct on you. So this add-on don't make sense. Really? Survivors that step on Trail of Torment have generator repair speed reduced by 25% for 40 seconds. God dang. I don't like this guy. Like, no. 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 I don't want to read anymore. I'm running away. No. Stop. Get some help. Also, Jesus Christ. Quality of life changes. Z Wolf, if you remember, is one of the guys that has just terrible luck in Dead by Daylight. He's always making concepts at which I think it's the killers are always super overpowered and the survivors are getting nerfed or vice versa. I don't remember which way he goes. I just remember his name and that he's always making these quality of life changes and changes to the base game that are based off of his shitty experience because he doesn't have enough hours in the game. So let's see what his quality of life changes are now. 12 posts, by the way. Just some minor things to add. When a survivor readies up, they get a 10% bonus blood points in all categories. When a killer readies up, they get 15% bonus blood points in all categories. You want to know why, sir? There's a 60-second wait time in lobbies. It's because they don't have a loadout system implemented in Dead by Daylight. So if you want to make a build or something like that or change something at the last second, because behavior realizes that their matchmaking times get abysmal different times of the day / night. So if you want to search and change out your perks or get add-ons for a particular item or something like that, or say you join into a lobby and everybody's running Claudette, you can change that up. I'm going to make myself a dinner before play. Go find my refrigerator. Thanks for your stream and see you another time. Thanks for stopping by, Galanonim. I appreciate you. I still gotta do a Rocket League stream after this. God dang it. Man. Also, due to the new ranking system and all of that, that goes off medals and I mean, you could technically say it goes off of blood points too, because you get blood points depending on the medals and things that you have. This would unbalance that particular system. So you would always ready up right before it gets to about the 10-second mark, and you would get these blood points and all of that anyway. So it's heavily exploitable. Only thing you're saving is 10 seconds. So you still have to wait another 50 seconds. People would just wait to the last 10 and then ready up. So, yeah, saving an entire 10 seconds isn't worth going in and changing everything and adding in all of these effects. Again, the 60 seconds for the lobbies made for you to be able to change your loadout and get together with your teammates. It gives you time to chat with them. If somebody says, hey, I'm using this, you got to keep in mind that PCs and console and all the other people that play Dead by Daylight, I think they even have like Dead by Daylight mobile or some shit now, are all playing together. So you being on PC and being able to do things fast, console can't do that fast. So it's kind of there to help them out as well. You need to keep in mind that it's not just PC. You're affecting this for everybody. You got to have an overall thought process, not just selfish. I want to increase this for myself process, which you always have. For each empty perk space, you get 25 or 50% bonus blood points in all categories. Why? Again, with the rank system, I would literally just not run perks and get a 100% bonus in my game. With a 100% bonus, as long as I'm not playing an iridescent, I can easily rank up every match with 0 points. Or 0 points, 0 perks. That's dumb for you to even try and limit yourself and try to rank up in that particular game. If you want to go for a challenge, that's something else, but limiting yourself for blueprints, why not just use the perks that give you bonus blueprints in those particular categories? It already exists. Accessories and clothing should offer bonus blood points. The whole point of accessories and clothing is for individuality. If you want to wear a bright shirt into a particular trial, despite it being able to, be seen easily by the killer, that's your own prerogative. And if that is your prerogative and you want to do that, then you should accept the consequences for dressing fancy. I don't think you should be really discriminative against accessories and clothing and all of that. Hey, this dumbass is wearing a bright ass yellow suit. Let's give him more blood points. Like, no. This guy's an idiot and he's wearing a yellow suit. Go ahead and get clapped by the killer. Basic gray clothing would offer 0 bonus. Prestige 5, bright and rare 5%. This is also going on the basis of pay to win, by the way. Dead by Daylight isn't pay to win. Don't try to make it pay to win now. Same goes for glowing and rare charms. This would also help with the blood web grind. The only people that have trouble with blood web grind is the players that are basically bad at the game. I have an upwards of 1,000,000 blood points because that's the new max, and I don't really have much to do with them except for, search through for items or something like that. There is really no blood point grind, to be honest with you. Keep in mind that if you have fantastic games and use the boosts and everything like that, that you can get individually, you can get about 35,000 blood points. If you know how to play the game, you're good at, looping, you're a team player, all of that other stuff, and you're running the 100% bonus to everything. If not, you can get about 15 to 17,000 a game. 15,000 a game. And 10 basic matches. That's 150,000 blood points. It takes like 2.4 million or somewhere around there. It's either 2.4 or 2.7. I want to say it's 2.4 million blood points for you to max out a character to 50. So to get to level 50 with the character. If every 10 games you're getting 150,000, you know what I'm saying? 100,000 or 150,000, 100 games in, which I mean, at 100 games in, you're obviously going to be well beyond max level at that point. This is if you're bad, the low end of the point spectrum. But 100 games in, you're going to have 1.5 million blood points. And the scaling in Dead by Daylight is weird. Well, it's not weird, but the scaling, you use more blood points the more you go up. Because your first 10 levels, you're going to get quick as hell. Hell, your first 20 levels, if you just play good, are going to go by quick as hell. And you only need to get to level, 40? I think it is. Yeah, 30, 35, and 40. 40 to get the shareable perks and all of that. If it's a character that you're not really wanting to play, you're just needing the perks off of, which leaves you the last 10 levels worth of grinding, which are hundreds of thousands of blood points on their own. So if you cut out the scale on the end of that and you only use your main character, you're looking at not so significant amount of blood points just to level them up. And the estimate I'm giving you is just a basic 15,000 points a game. You should be getting more than that on average. But if you are just a bad player and that's all you can come up with, I mean, still, getting an average of that every 10 games is 150,000. 150,000 will give you a lot of levels in the beginning. Then as you play the game and all of that, you'll be naturally just getting blood points after blood points after blood points. Plus, behavior gives away a lot of free blood points over and over and over and over and over. If you use the codes that they release, you can get millions of blood points for free. It's ridiculous how many codes that are out there and how often they give blood point codes. And they're not cheap. We're talking like 100,000 blood points here, 100,000 there, etc., etc. Plus the events and the kill switches and everything else. And them constantly giving you things. So I don't understand how anybody could complain about the blood point web grind. That is the game. Once your blood points are maxed out for your character, yes, you can go on infinitely. However, there's nothing really to push for. And as you play and all of that, you're just going to accrue more and more items. And it's not going to matter. So, no, you don't need anything for the blood web grind that you want to call it, because I don't even feel that it's an actual grind. I play a couple of matches, and I'm already at max level with my damn character and all of that. And I'm like, sheesh, for you to want to make that faster, oh my, you must really be bad at the game. Underwear model, 64 posts. Most are great ideas, but I shouldn't force to wear certain clothes or certain charms for a blood point benefit. Mm-hmm. 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 They spoke on giving a bonus to play whatever role is lacking, which will likely almost be killer. There's a thing there too. Instead of giving blueprints or items or all of that, which I spoke about in the past, the game is severely lacking killers throughout the day, and then it ends up lacking survivors throughout the night for whatever fucking weird ass reason. At least that's how it's been for a while. Whenever they are lacking a specific number, they can start hot events taken from Maple Store during specific hours of the day when killer numbers diminish. Give killers bonuses during those times to make people want to play killer. Give survivor bonuses whenever survivors tried lacking people and go off of that way. Give them rewards, give them specific items, how they play, how long, more they upgrade their, you know, killer and all of that. And not just, a couple of shards and all of that. Give them something worthwhile. Generally, only thing behavior needs to do is implement another item system. It would shake up and change up the game, having different another item system and make the items only obtainable through collecting a new source. And this source comes from, playing during the hot hours or event times or something like that. Then you can bring back some of the old add-ons, like play the pig for free and make it fairly expensive. Play Michael Myers for a game, even if you don't add him, and have the old system come back. Hell, you can even implement my alternative killer system. Have a new item system where actual items aren't just cosmetic, they actually do something. Like actual killer weapons and all of that that actually do something and aren't just cosmetic. And you can do a whole bunch of other different things and expand upon that particular system. Anyway, I really like the idea of blood point bonuses for each empty perk slot. I'd be interested to see how many players would play with fewer no perks if that was brought in. The answer is nobody would. Because at the end of the day, let's say you get 25% blood point bonuses, but it doesn't go and affect your rank. You get all of your rewards and all of that after the match is done, and it's rewarded in the main menu, and it doesn't go towards your rank. You play a match, you get 15,000 blood points, and it gives you an extra 100%. That would give you 30,000. Obviously, it's not going to stack with all the other blueprints and cakes and all the other shit that you have. It's not going to stack with that. So if you're thinking it's going to give you 300% or 3 times that 15,000 and give you something amazing, it's not going to work like that, for one. So get that notion out of your head. It's all going to be rewarded at the end. Whatever the base you get, you're going to get that amount. So if you get 15,000 in the match and you run a cake, you're only going to get 30,000 because that's 100% plus 100%. And you're not going to get the bonus at the end of the match because you ran a cake or something with it. But if you leave the perk slot open, then you'll get the same amount as 30,000 and a 15,000 room and 15,000 at the end after it's all rewarded and said and done. Because what's going to happen if you don't is you're going to have a survive with friends, all running together, all running the cakes and everything that boost everybody else's that are the party streamer, and everybody's going to have 400%, and they're all going to have all of their perk slots empty to get an extra 100% on top of that. So you're going to have 500% if they convince a killer to farm, or if they just play a bully squad and all of that and just all push to get points out. And let's say they still get the bare minimum of 15,000. That would be 15,000 times 5. And 75,000. That's 75,000 blood points. And anytime you get a stream or anything like that, a party streamer, you can continuously get 75,000 blood points at a time. Don't that seem kind of ridiculous? Worst case scenario, even if you have a crap game and the killer goes through and claps you off for not having perks, and you throw all the pallets and all of that, and you all get, let's say, 5,000 points. You still escape with 25,000 points at the end for not doing a single thing. People that have been playing the game for freaking ever can literally just AFK with no perks and streamers on, get in the matches, get whatever little bit of points they can, do a little bit here or there, or even when I say AFK, I mean like AFK RuneScape, not literally sit there and do nothing. But like AFK RuneScape, the where you click into the game, you do one action, and then you go on and do something else until the match ends. Or get yourself sacrificed and go to the next game. Just to get blood points when you need them. But I don't see this being a thing. I really don't. I've talked about cosmetics and things like that giving you blood points and things like that in the past, but I've long since then changed my opinion on it. Now, if you want to wear a bright ass shirt and all of that, and you want to get, like an extra like 5,000, like a very small amount of blood points, 1,000, maybe 5,000, the equivalent of like taking Pinhead's box out of the trial. 1,000 points here, maybe 5,000 here, a very insignificant amount that gives you, thanks for your patronage, thanks you for paying for a particular outfit, but it's not anything that pushes the envelope and makes it hugely pay to win. Possibly. But it's not gonna happen, getting huge amounts for not taking perks and not doing this or that. At least it's gonna be a hell of a thing trying to convince behavior to change their opinions on that. This Rocket League update still hasn't pushed yet. And I've been on this for about an hour and a half. That's roundabout what I want to look for. So I'm going to end this for now. I need to do some research and see when this Rocket League update is going to hit, even if it's even still going to hit. So I need to know if I have time to prepare for it, or if I need to stay up, or if I can take a nap, or, what time it's going to drop, so to see what's going on. But thank you for everybody that will stop by, can stop by, has stopped by, or will stop by in the future. As always, supplement your lifestyle, and I will see you probably in a bit. See you. Also, I'm starting a RimWorld series sometime here soon. I don't know if I want to play it on stream because I am bad at the game and don't remember how to play it, or whether I want to play it by myself. I'm not entirely sure, but there might be a RimWorld series played in. I've been thinking about playing it on stream to keep myself accountable for it. So to make sure that I actually play the game every day, even if things aren't going particularly great. But who knows?